Hello everyone, welcome to the Boleyn Lounge. As you can see, I've got my regular co-presenter Budgie with me. Thanks for joining us again, Budgie.
You're welcome, Jeff. Not a problem.
We've got Simon from Wolfang Division. Thanks for joining, Simon.
Thank you for having me, sir. Much obliged.
No problem, you're welcome. And obviously we're here to talk about the London derby that's occurring tomorrow between Chelsea and West Ham United. And, well, everyone looking forward to the game?
I am. I'm just hoping the Chelsea that played Spurs turns up tomorrow and not the Chelsea that played Arsenal turns up.
Yeah.
I'm
hoping Chelsea turn up tomorrow, the same ones that turned up at the London Stadium earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's what I mean, Budgie. That's what I want to not.
Yeah. That's what I know you want to avoid that, but we're trying to encourage it, mate. You know.
I think we're at odds. Somehow, some way, I sense we're at odds, Budgie.
Yeah. Ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly. JPT, big up, brother. How you doing, bro? Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. Like, it should be a good test. Because I'm not being funny. One thing about having the Hammers at home, I was saying to Budgie yesterday that somehow, some way, even with the top teams, you guys have always been a pain in the arse to all the other London teams. And you've just said it, like when we played you at the London Stadium and you beat us, You beat Arsenal. I think you beat Spurs there. You beat Man United there as well, didn't you?
I believe so.
We beat Man United, yeah. We drew with Spurs.
So, because one thing about it,
because
one thing about it is you've always given the bigger teams a bit of an hiding at home. So, you know, I mean, it's never easy. It's never easy.
The thing is, though, I mean, it really does at the moment, though. It really does depend on the West Ham that turn out as well.
Yeah, we don't know what West Ham's turning up from week to week, do we?
No, not at the moment. There's so much at stake in the backroom, backroom stuff. There's so much going
and all
on.
That,
the team seems to be the team seems to be a little unsettled and stuff. Okay, we pulled it out of the bag against Liverpool the other day, and that was really good for us. But
we were awful against Palace.
We were totally outclassed against Palace. Totally outclassed.
So,
So, like I said, I'm kind of hoping that we get the right kind of Chelsea for us, where you would be hoping for the Chelsea that turned up against Tottenham, So, this could be a game of real, importance for both teams because we're both challenging for the European slots.
Exactly. Against each other as well, because we're fighting for the same spot.
Exactly that. And at the moment, you seem to have the advantage, and you've got a home advantage tomorrow as well. So, the ball's in your court, really, to be fair. It's yours to lose.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I'm also being at home.
And we've got to get points against Chelsea, Luton, and Manchester City for us to be in with a chance. The chances of that are slim.
And Newcastle won healthily today as well, which doesn't help our cause. We really
what
needed.
Was the final score on that one, Jeff?
4-1, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, 4-1, yeah, 4-1.
So we sort of need Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle to all drop points and us to get maximum points to have any hope of European football. If I'm being honest, I think that little dream's gone for this season.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking for a majority of the West Ham faithful. I think we're all resigned to the fact that we're not going to have European football next year, which may be a blessing in disguise anyway, because we've got a massive rebuild to go on. We're going to be losing more than a handful of players. We're going to have to recruit more than a handful of players, so we've got lots and lots of work to do in the coming season. So maybe European football, or lack of it, may actually be favourable to us.
Just come to put a few comments in from the chat. Thanks for everyone for joining us.
Hi, Happy.
Hey, you gonna say that, Budgie? Because you're gonna speak, then stop.
All right, okay. With a week's rest, we should have at least 60% of Chelsea's get up and go.
Well, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, it really does depend on the pre-game talk from the Moyes, if you want to put it that way. David Moyes sets the team up, and he basically tells us whether to go for it or to defend.
Well, I tell you what, that depends on what we come for you first off. Because one thing about it is, and this is one thing I have to say I hate about Chelsea, and this worries me against West Ham, we are notoriously sloppy in the first half. And we are bad in first halves. And we are comparable to Tottenham in that regard, in terms of normally it's when teams score against us. It's when we react. And if the thing is, one thing about you guys are good at defending. So that deal with what Forest did, maybe you got nick a 1-0. Maybe
you say that, Simon, but we've conceded something like 67 goals this season.
We've conceded something like 57.
Yeah.
We're not far behind you. Defensively, we're awful. We've had our worst defensive season since 1970.
On the surface, we're kind of like swans. We kind of, serene, and it looks like we're doing a really good defensive job. But below the surface, mate, we're paddling like fuck to stay up to everybody else. Seriously. I mean, we've had so many holes in our defence. Fortunately, we may have Mavropanos back this weekend, which will please a lot of people. None least, happy Amaret. But we should have him back. And to be fair, I think he's been our most favourable defender this season. I don't know what you think, Jeff.
Well, he made a few mistakes when he first came in, didn't he? He looked a little bit rocky, gave away a few goals, very unnecessary. But he's gradually improved and grown into things. But I think there takes a bit of a settling in period. Any player joins a team. And I think the case in point might be Chelsea. If we look at Chelsea, the last few weeks, they're a very different Chelsea from earlier in the season, I think. They actually look an awful lot better, and it's a bit of a worry.
And that's
for me.
because, they've got, if you don't mind me saying so, Chelsea have got a very good team of individuals, very young players, but they're all very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that they've lacked is team ethic. They've been individual.
No cohesion.
Some individual brilliance in the team, namely Cole Palmer, Chukwuemeka, however you
Chukwuemeka.
Yeah, him. He's been absolutely brilliant at times, Conor Gallagher, he's been fantastic at times. So you've had some individual performances throughout the whole season, but they haven't translated into team performances, which you need for results that you require.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think you'll find Pochettino has kind of got his ethic in there now, and they're kind of buying into it. The guys that he's putting out there for his starting 11s and stuff are buying into it, and it's beginning to work now. They're beginning to look like a team more than they did at the beginning of the season.
Well, the problem we've had,
I would agree with that.
But the problem we've both had, right? Well, we've had Jeff and Budgie is the fact of, and I said this to Budgie yesterday, because half the players that are there, even the Gustos that people consider good, like the Gustos and stuff. Like even when supposedly everyone's fit, they're not the first choice anyway. Because one thing about us, we've never had anything less than maybe 5 guys injured the whole season. We've had guys like Lavia, because okay, the big joke about Chelsea is they've spent $1 billion on their squads. Blah 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 blah. Right, Lavia in Cuckoo never even started a match. That's 100 mils worth of talent right there. Wesley Fofana, Reece James, Ben Chilwell. Can they skate 20 games between them? Probably not. Wesley Fofana, forget it. He's not even kicked a ball, let alone started a match, because he got injured in pre-season, and that was it. We were told, there you go. He's the one player we bought from Leicester that makes the Harry Maguire deal look shrewd. It's just, there's just no value for money in the guy. And we're still paying the guy, like, as far as I know, 280k a week. It's just, you look at some of the Chelsea, and Reece James is supposed to be our captain. The guy came back for one game after being out for 3 months. Played for half an hour. No, Budgie, the worst thing about that was he came onto the pitch, was on the pitch for 30 minutes, got subbed off, and then we got told he needed an operation and he was out for another 5 months. And it was just like, hang on a minute. Between 30 minutes, he didn't need an operation. Now he does. So,
Yeah. Mind you, we had a similar scenario a couple of years back with Antonio, where we never knew whether he was going to have surgery or not, whether he was going to be fit for this game or that game. You know, we never knew where we were with Antonio. And yet he's now currently the highest scoring player at West Ham in the Premier League. He's overtaken Paolo Di Canio. He's overtaken, you know, the likes of Tony Cottee and Frank McAvenny. Ages ago he did that. And so, I mean, this season he's just been adding to his tally, you know. And then he went through an 18-month period where we spoke about this last night, actually, Simon. He went through an 18-month period where he had no injuries and he was available for selection every week and every game. We didn't get the best Antonio we've ever had in that 18 months, even though he was available and fit and playing and causing a nuisance to defend and stuff. You know, he wasn't absolutely shite, but he wasn't great. And then he gets injured. He's out for 9 weeks, was it? I think, Jeff, 8 or 9 weeks, wasn't it? He was out
for with the last injury. Yeah, he was out a lot longer than we thought he was going to be out for 2 weeks, didn't we?
Yeah, and he ended up with about 7 or 8 weeks or something.
Yeah, and he ended up, yeah,
and then when he came back, though, the point I'm making is when he came back like the Antonio we had 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, when he was on fire.
He was absolutely on it. I mean, he was on it at the beginning of this season, let's be fair.
Yeah, he was the one he blasted over the bar against Fulham.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mad a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? When he proper skied it. It was like, how did you miss that? Well,
But, you know, since he's come back from his injury, we've had a 30-year-old Antonio back rather than the 33-year-old that he is. It's been fantastic turnaround. But still, having said that, that hasn't been enough. It hasn't. You know, we've got very little in backup for him. We've got Jarrod Bowen. I mean, he's our first choice backup, but then that leaves a massive hole in the right wing, on the right-sided attacking midfielder, if you like. You know, we play like 4-2-3-1, don't we? So in the 3, Bowen occupies that right wing, if you like. And if he comes into the middle, we miss having him there. And even when we put Mohamed Kudus out there, it was kind of only 70% of what we were used to. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff? He was great, but it wasn't the Bowen role. Bowen's kind of cemented that role now at West Ham, that right wing. I don't think we've got a player at this moment in time that is a good enough like-for-like replacement. I think Kudos is far better out on the left or in the middle. I don't think he's as good or effective on the left. On the right, sorry.
Well, strange enough, that could be said about us with Jackson, because one thing about it is a lot of people, he's actually more or less a winger, Jackson, and that's why when we put him up front and he's through 1-on-1, he looks like he's always trying to go around the goalkeeper because that's his game. He's used to the ball at his feet and he's trying to dribble around people. Because I understand what you're saying about with like the way you use your squad in terms of certain people can drop back. Because if Kudos is not there on the right, causing problems, you might need to use Bowen and all that kind of thing. But I do think we suffer from the same problems, but for different reasons. With us, it's been bad injuries. With you guys, it's just been maybe Moyes fiddling a bit too much. Because I know
the trouble is with Moyes, though, he doesn't tinker enough. He kind of, he only does any kind of tinkering when it's forced upon him. Through injury.
He's more reactional than actional. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and because look, in the January transfer window, we let 3 players go out on loan. 3 of our important players in Benrahma, Fornals, and Tilo Kehrer. 3 very important first-team players. Whether you like them or not is irrelevant. They were important first-team players. We let them go out on loan. And we brought in Calvin Phillips. And that's all we brought in the whole of the window. And he proven to be a 3 out of 10 at best.
Yeah, he's not really worked out.
He hasn't, and so that's why guys like myself, Jeff, West Ham fans, we're cautious when it comes to games like Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal. We're cautious about how we will see the game because our squad is so small. We kind of more or less know weeks in advance what the starting lineup's going to be, and we just wonder, can Antonio do it against the likes of Thiago Silva? We are looking at James Ward-Prowse, can he cut the mustard against someone like Caicedo? This is what we know basically what our starting 11 is going to be, and because we don't know what the Chelsea 11 is going to be or what players are going to come out in those shirts, I have mixed feelings about the game. I think it's either going to go very well or very poorly for us.
Well, can I just say
much in between?
Well, can I just say you just said yourself, like you just said the question there of can we compete with the the answer would be yes, because you've beaten every single one of us at home. I just said to you earlier, we said earlier about you beat Arsenal at home, you beat us at home, you beat Man United at home, you beat Spurs at home.
Oh, we drew to Spurs, yeah.
Oh, we drew to Spurs. Well, that's still not a bad record.
No.
So 4 points against Spurs over the season. Beat them at their place, drew at home.
Well, yeah, 6 points as well. So. But yeah, who cares about Spurs? No, joking. But what I'm saying
to tomorrow's game.
Yeah, that's what
I watched it. I watched your game against Tottenham in the week. You beat them. I thought Spurs were pretty poor, but I also thought that you were actually very good. A couple of standout players for me in that game when I was looking forward to our game and thinking about what it might mean for us is Madueke down your right-hand side. He looks like he could be a handful. Mudryk, I know, sort of comes in and out of games and is a bit hit and miss, but you look at his pace up against Soufal, and that's quite scary. And then you've got Jackson, who, again, he seems to waste a lot of chances, but he also gets himself into really, really good positions. And he gets lots of opportunities. So you just don't know if he's going to be clinical on the day. He really could be a bit of a problem for us. Yeah. Then we're moving back through the pitch. You've got likes of Gallagher and Palmer in the middle there. I mean, I thought they were really, really good.
And both of them really enjoy playing us.
the one good thing I would say from a West Ham perspective is we touched on it before about Bowen and Kudus. You look at Cucurella and perhaps if Gilchrist is playing, although he did have a good game on Thursday, you think, well, we could probably get at them. And Thiago Silva's going to be missing, isn't he? So
Oh, is he?
perhaps Antonio can give the centre backs a bit of a handful. So there is things to be hopeful for a West Ham perspective, and also things to be fearful of as a West Ham perspective. One
Yeah.
thing I wouldn't agree with what you said earlier, I don't think there's any way this game finishes 1-0. Yeah, I think there's going to be goals in the game.
I agree
So
with
it'll
that.
be 1-0 now. Or 0-0.
Well, I must contradict you there, Jeff. It might be 2-0 because my defence always give away chances. Always give away chances. And I know Budgie's heard me moaning about this several times. It's just the fact of there's always... Chelsea are one of those teams where they always give you a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they always give you a chance. So you just heard my missus crying in the background because she's just seen the... she's a Wolves fan. She's just seen the City score. So,
Oh, yeah.
So she's just...
2 penalties in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what she's just said. 2 fucking penalties. Unquote, sorry.
First
Yeah, but,
one is really harsh, I think, as well.
right, but this is why West Ham fans should be hopeful. We have 14 first team players out. Wesley Fofana, Romeo Lavia, Enzo
Yeah, I have it here,
Fernandez.
Simon. I'll put it on the screen because I couldn't believe
Oh,
it
there you go.
when I looked at your injury list. I was astounded, if I'm honest.
There you go. So
You might have 14 first team players out, but what about the other 297 first team players you've got?
oh, you're not supposed to mention them. Don't ruin my narrative. All right. Yeah, I know, but the thing is, we loan them out, Budgie. That's the problem. That's the
yeah,
problem with
true.
this 1 billion spent. Right? You sign 27,000 players, then you keep 30 odd, and then loan out the rest. Because that's the thing. That's the other thing you mentioned about the January transfer window, right?
Yeah.
We were getting rid of senior players in the January transfer window, and we signed absolutely no one. But we're recording these youngsters like Casady off alone and Santos from Forest, who couldn't even get a match.
Yeah.
It's such a jumble at Chelsea right now. It's actually a headache. And the thing is, like, when I saw this the other day, like the average age of the Chelsea squad is 23.5 years old. It's just like, nah, that's not good. There's no experience. There's no know-how.
Our average age is about 49.6.
Well,
Honestly, we've got the second eldest squad in the Premier League, apparently.
Can you experience best youth? This seems to what it boils down to then. But I do think in terms of the know-how, you guys have got the advantage.
Yeah, I would probably go along with that as well. But, I mean, the thing is, with youth comes fearlessness. With age comes caution.
True.
So you know, sometimes players like Creswell or Bonner, they can be overcautious in their defence, and that causes big gaps. We saw that against Crystal Palace with Ogbonna. He created a big enough gap, literally, to park a battleship in. And, you know, we conceded a goal immediately because of it. And so sometimes age doesn't always help, you know. I mean, like the experience doesn't always help because of that, you know, overcautiousness can create problems.
Well, the thing is,
with the younger players, it's kind of gung ho. Let's fucking have a go.
I hear you, but there's a reason why those players that are now cautious, when they were young, they were gung ho. They got their ass bit at one point, and that's now why they're cautious. Because that could be the potential mousetrap, if you like, for us in this situation. They can go gun ho, but then get exposed. For example, and I'm pretty sure you and Jeff would agree with me, knowing Moisey, he's probably going to come to Stamford Bridge tomorrow and play on the counter attack.
Of course, yeah.
In a low block, maybe a low block. Right, so we're notoriously bad against low blocks. Struggle to break them down. I think the last time we played against a proper low block was actually probably against Everton, but they had a really, really, really bad day when we put those 6 goals past them. That flattered us really because Everton were really bad on the day. And to be honest, I think overall you're a much better team than Everton. So one thing about it is you'll implement that style a little bit better. Now I know it's what we used to call the old bastardry, shithousery tactics that Moisey likes to imply. And when you look, as was Jeff put that little thing up on there on the screen, it was like it showed you the amount of players that we actually have out. Now I'm not being funny. The idea of maybe Bowen against Gilchrist terrifies the life out of me. Believe what? You don't even that's nightmare stuff.
Yeah.
That's not because I was actually like what
likely Kudus against Gilchrist, I would think.
well, there you go. Yeah. That's even worse.
Bowen against Cucurella.
Well, no, well, Cucurella, Jeff. I know you, from the sounds of it, you think him and Gilchrist are of similar ilks. But one thing about Cucur is when you put him in a system where he's got someone helping him, he's not so bad. Because I remember when we played Arsenal at home, and literally he Mark Saka out the game. Like, you know what I mean? Until Trossard came on the opposite side and exposed Gusto, getting in behind him, who was supposedly the better one of the two. And like, it swings in roundabouts. It's football, lads. Sometimes some players have good games, sometimes they have bad games. But the thing is, that's the problem when it comes down to both of us in terms of the consistency is not always there. And like that's
what
something
I was really getting at with the Cucurella and Gilchrist thing was not really putting both of them players in. I mean, Gilchrist is a very young player. Cucurella is much more experienced. One thing, really, what I would say, the point I was coming from there is that Kudus and Bowen, respectively, on their sides, are tricky, and they could give your fullbacks
nightmares.
problems.
To be honest, I'd probably be more scared if Chilwell was playing though, because that guy, he would be on the left, right? So that means he would be against obviously Bowen, and obviously with Gilchrist being on the right, or if Reece James was fit or whatever, obviously we could be against Kudos. But the idea of Ben Chilwell against Bowen on that right hand side, giving him all that space once he bombs forward. Oh, rather have a date with Freddy Krueger, mate. It's no thank you. It's just that guy. One thing about Chilwell, he's one of these modern fullbacks where he can pretty much go forward and do bugger all else. Because one thing about it is, I know you may or may not have noticed this.
This is why it surprised me that Chelsea ever let Emerson go, because the Emerson that we're seeing in the 2 seasons or 2.5 seasons that we've had him, the Emerson that we're seeing is a very staunch defender that can break forward in a heartbeat.
He can,
and his delivery is usually pretty damn good. And then when he's in a position that he can have a shot, he'll have a shot. He works intricately with certain players. For example, Kudus, Paqueta in particular. He was working really nice triangles with Declan Rice during our Europa Conference League campaign. So, I think Emerson is probably, one of those players that Chelsea should look at and think, damn, what could have been? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, you're right, because he's better than Cucurella. I think Emerson's better than Cucurella. And the thing is, when you look at it, we got rid of Emerson after we won the Champions League, but probably because he just wanted more ball. And to be honest, at that time, because he just won the Champions League with people like Chilwell, Tuchel was never going to be like, no, this is my star boy, because that's when we played the 4-5-3-2 system, I think.
I mean, the thing is, he went to Lyon with Paqueta, and we managed to scoop both of them up. And then in the following season, Ajax were kind of a team that everybody was having eyes on. And then we managed to scoop up Kudus and Alvarez. And, we kind of do that from time to time. We do tend to go and do a little raid on some of these European teams and get damn good players. Trouble is, we can never bloody keep them.
That's it, yeah. Mascherano and Tevez, remember when you guys got them like that?
Exactly, yeah, but we always knew that was just a
stepping stone. Yeah,
a loan. Yeah, it was always a loan, and we always knew that they would both go. I mean, like some of the players. I mean, we had 5 years out of Paolo Di Canio, and undoubtedly, for at least 2 of them seasons, he was up there for being best player in the Premiership. And at least 2 of them seasons, he was fantastic for us. But we managed to keep him for about 5 years. But then that was because he had a reputation for being a bit of a maverick, and there were only certain teams and certain managers that would be comfortable working with players like that. I think, for example, if Mourinho had been at Chelsea at the time Di Canio was playing, we would have had a fight with Chelsea on our hands over who got him. Because I think he's the sort of player that Mourinho would have loved to have had around him.
Scrappy, yeah. One that
You
can
know?
scrap. The Costas,
Yeah,
the Pogba.
also one that can win a game on his own.
Oh yeah, technically so. I remember that bicycle kick he scored for you guys. Was it the kung fu kick? The little.
Yeah, that was
the volley.
Against
Wimbledon. Good goal, and he was one of those guys where like he was a proper baller. He even though he had his off the field antics and his reputation, I'm not going to get into that. But like he was known for his sportsmanship as well. When the goalkeeper got injured and he famously caught the ball. I think that's still probably the benchmark of Premier League. You know, kind of like sportsmanship, fair play. That kind of like because you know nowadays they're scoring. They're just they're banging that in the back of the net. They're not even going to think twice about it.
Actually, Jeff, wasn't that in the season that led up to us getting into the Toto Cup through Fair Play League?
Oh God, I don't know about that. I remember him catching the ball.
I'm pretty sure that was around about the same time that we got into that. I'm sure it was the Toto Cup because we'd won the Fair Play League. We'd had less yellows and reds than most, and so on and so forth. And I'm pretty sure that Di Canio catch was in that season. I could be wrong, but anyway. Could do some Chelsea youth, Chelsea with some of our experience. Looks like a draw. Actually, West Ham, I see where you're coming from. I just can't see either team walking away from this with 1 point satisfactory result.
Because they're both bad on their day.
Not a satisfactory result tomorrow for either side.
Both teams got to win.
But it's... When looking at tomorrow's game, like I say, I'm a little bit worried about Chelsea. I think Chelsea is starting to hit a bit of a rich vein of form, especially at home. I'll put that graphic back up there. That you look at their form, it sort of looks up and down, but it's their away form that's the problem for them, isn't it? At home, their last couple of home games have been pretty strong. They demolished Everton. I know you said that flattered them a little bit, Simon. I didn't watch that game, so I don't know. But I did watch you against Aston Villa, and I have to say...
Second half, we were a lot better against Villa.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with Chelsea against Villa. And Gallagher's goal was an absolute beauty.
Yeah, the cut off his left foot,
Even the game before at Arsenal, to be fair, I mean, we were doing a show ourselves, so I had it on in the background. But first half, I was actually relatively impressed with Chelsea.
Yeah, we should have been in the lead the first half. Enzo and who missed the other chance? They were literally
Jackson missed a couple.
Yeah, we could have got in behalf of that half time 2-1, but we didn't.
Yeah,
it's just it was close.
Right, end to end. And you missed chances.
But the thing is, that doesn't suit us. When we go end to end, if we don't tuck away our chances, that's when the vulnerabilities come up, because then you can't outscore your opposition. We need sometimes, that's the thing I was saying to Budgie as well, Jeff. You need to control the games a bit better. And sometimes Chelsea don't do that. And that's what worries me against you. You guys like that kind of end-to-end game. You guys are great at that. Us, not so much.
Tottenham as well. I was pretty impressed with you against Tottenham. I'd say I thought Tottenham were a bit poor on the night. But I thought Chelsea were actually very good. And Chalobah's header was an absolute cracker of a goal. I thought that was a super header by him. So, yeah, I don't know really what to expect from tomorrow's game, because I think it does matter what West Ham turn up. And if a resolute, go for it West Ham, determined West Ham turn up, then we have a chance. But if stroll about, get taken apart. Chelsea, West Ham turn up at Palace, turn up. I think we're on the back end of a hiding to you guys at the moment.
I know it's so hit and miss with both, isn't it? So hit and miss with both.
Here's a
Yeah.
good question from Wazim. He says, what do you think of Poch, Simon? Has he done a good job, or do you guys need another managerial change? Quite interested in your answer to that.
Well, there's two things, because the unfortunately, Wasim, the answer to that one isn't actually very simple. There's two problems. One, when you do, Poch is kind of like a yes man to this board. He doesn't do everything 100% their way, but he's been there to brought in to develop a team. Now, I think considering how badly most of our players have been injured this year, like you saw the injury, Jeff brought up the injury. Jeff, do me a favor, actually bring that injury table back up for a second, right?
I will do that for you.
If you don't mind. Right, now let me ask you this, right? With the only thing I would say about the Chelsea team is in terms of, and I'm not sure if it's Poch to blame or the management, but here we go. You've got Levy Colwell, Reece James, Raheem. I don't know how Raheem Sterling got injured because he hasn't been doing nothing over the last couple of weeks. That confuses me. Enzo Fernandez, it says he's growing, but he's apparently been playing with a sports hernia on his back for the last 2 months. Apparently, that all came out 2 weeks ago. I don't know. The problem I don't understand is, right, how are these players this amount getting injured so many times so regularly? And it's not just under the one thing I hate about Chelsea right now is the structure of the club. There's always an issue in terms of the players. If you guys know what I mean, there's always an injury. Someone's always out for 6 months, and it's been a habit that's happened kind of since about 2 years ago, when we first proper went nosedive in the league. Now, Poch, unfortunately, none of this is his squad, so I do think he's done great. But excuse me, and I have to say this, I'm old school, right? I grew up watching football in the late 80s, early 90s, etc. No one who's considered as close to Spurs' heart, legend of Spurs, blah, 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 as a manager should have been appointed a manager of Chelsea. Does that appointment happen under Abramovich? I don't think so. Because one thing I will say is that I'm kind of old school. Tottenham have what they've got. We've got what we have, and I'm pretty sure Jeff and I know Budgie and Jeff will understand what that is. It's just a rivalry. If he's a Spurs legend, I don't want him nowhere near my team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then
Big up Leroy.
Glenn Hoddle.
I get that, but
there's been a history of that throughout, the Premier League. I mean, you look at players like Jermaine Defoe.
Mm-hmm.
The one team we don't want. Well, there's two teams we don't want players to go to, is Millwall or Tottenham. That's really, really, really where we don't want our players to go. Jermaine Defoe went there. Michael Carrick ended up there. We're talking about a part of the youth system at West Ham that were coming through. They were part of a group of probably 6 or 8 players that were destined for greatness, and we let them all go. Instead of keeping them at West Ham and having that greatness at home, we allowed other teams to benefit from the greatness that we'd seen in these players as young kids. Like the likes of Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, Rio Ferdinand, Michael. The list goes on. Yeah, Defoe. The list goes on, though. There's been other players, but then there's also been players that we thought that were the next best thing that have gone on to other teams and absolutely done nothing. Like Grady and Garner went on to West Brom, and we were really gutted. In fact,
I'll be honest.
we
talk about Poch and his Tottenham connections. To be honest with you, if you don't want him, Simon, I would think he'd be quite a good manager. I'd take him at West Ham, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well,
definitely.
the only thing I'll say is because and this is just me. Forget the Tottenham. If you were to give you my personal opinion of him, one thing I think about Poch, and I like Poch because I've been watching him since he's managed Espanyol, and I think it was Espanyol in Spain, because he was in Spain first, then he came to England, then he managed Southampton, and what was the other one who he managed before Spurs? There was another team he managed.
Southampton he was at before Spurs, wasn't he?
Was it?
Yeah,
was
he
it
went
was it
directly from
Southampton?
Southampton to Spurs.
He
Yeah.
went to PSG, didn't he?
Yeah, he went PSG as well. That was the other one. Thank you. But the thing is, when you look at Poch in his element, Poch always does better, even with Spurs being an example, where he can just be left to do his work with not too much expectation, and then he can slowly build that up, like when they got to a Champions League final. The problem is with Chelsea, even if the culture of the board has changed, the culture of the fan base hasn't. So it's still now. Now, I remember watching my teams in the 90s when Chelsea used to be like that, up and down anyway. So what I've seen isn't too new to me. Don't get me wrong, like, I don't know like the amount of goals we've conceded and how shocking we played at times, and the amount of chances we miss. That scares me the most, because we missed, as you guys said about Jackson a minute ago, we missed bundles. But the thing is, like, in retrospect, I have to say, if they were to add in the summer 3 or 4 really, like, not 23, not 22, not 21, 19, give me 5 or 6 27, 28-year-olds that really fill out the team with experience and leadership, because that's the one thing this team lacks, leadership. That's why I think it was a mistake getting rid of guys like Cesar Azpilicueta too quickly. You can even argue we're letting Thiago Silva go when we still need him. So it can be chopped many ways, but ultimately the board are the ones that do it. So it's down to their vision.
But in fairness, though, Thiago Silva needs to go and plant his tomatoes and that. Now. And how old is he now? 37.
No, he's 40. He's nearly 40.
40. There you go. I mean, the geezer needs to be going and planting his tomatoes and feeding his cats. You know, he shouldn't be playing top flight football anymore at that age.
It's amazing how good he is, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
irreplaceable.
That's the problem.
Irreplaceable.
Your missus will be happy. Wolves have got one back, Simon.
There you go. Jeff says you'll be happy, babe. This is 3-1, I think. Is it 3-1?
Yay!
A sarcastic yay if she sipped her rum. So, I think the results good. Budgie says good girl. She got her arms up.
I'd be drinking a bottle of rum a day if I was a Wolves fan. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, he says he'd be drinking a bottle of rum a day if he was a Wolves fan. Which we've got Ray and nephews over there, so it's quite potent. I might be in for quite a time later on tonight. I'm gonna get my ass kicked later.
Yeah, you know. I think Pochettino's a great manager.
He needs time, buddy. He needs time.
Regardless of exactly that,
different.
and he showed that with Southampton and with Tottenham. He didn't have overnight.
Oh, for God's sake! It's 4-1 now.
4-1. He's jinxed it. Bastard. She's gone.
Haaland's got his hat trick.
Haaland got a hat trick.
Oh no, he hasn't. It's fucking penalties. There's 2 penalties that probably weren't even.
She's saying the 2 penalties don't count, and they're probably not even real penalties, because she's watched my games against City, so she knows City gets decisions. So yeah,
but you know, I mean, I think Pochettino's a great manager, and regardless of his history, I mean, and he has managed some top flight teams. But I think, like you said, even at Tottenham and at Southampton and that, he didn't have overnight success, if you like. He wasn't challenging for the Champions League the moment he walked into Tottenham. You know, he had to build to it. And, you know, Tottenham were in and out of the Europa League for about 4 seasons before they actually qualified for Champions League. And that's kind of like the route that West Ham have been taking in sort of a similar way. We've been challenging for the lower European places. Okay, this season we're not going to get one, we don't think. But, you know, next season's a season of rebuild, which a lot of teams have had to do. I mean, Chelsea are going through it right now, you know. Manchester City have been through it a number of times when they've had a rebuild, but they've always managed to bring in players that are ready replacements for the ones they're letting go. You know, I mean, Riyad Mahrez is a perfect example. When he came in, he fitted straight into the position he was meant for. He shared it with who was it? He shared it with, was it Gabriel Jesus? No.
Yeah, Gabriel Jesus played on the right for City.
Yeah.
True.
So he sort of shared the position with him.
Silver on the left as well, don't forget.
That's right. And then when Gabriel Jesus was being phased out, as it were, you saw a lot more of Riyad Mahrez. Gabriel Jesus went to Arsenal. Mahrez stepped in for a season, and then they sold him. But now they've got
Doku?
Yeah, but he's a left wing back, isn't he? Doku.
No, Doku's a winger.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's a left-sided winger, isn't he?
Yes. Are you thinking
Yeah.
Foden? Alvarez?
Yeah, Alvarez, him, yes. Now, he has just basically stepped into Riyad Mahrez's boots and kept them warm. You know what I mean? There's kind of been no
No drop off. Yeah.
no drop off, exactly, you know. And Manchester City seem to be doing that very well at the moment. Trouble with teams like Chelsea, West Ham, you know, even Arsenal to a point, you know, there's always a bit of a drop off when they lose a certain player. I mean, like with Arsenal at the moment, their midfield has become 10 times better just by buying Declan Rice. Whether he's playing or not is irrelevant. The fact that he's there has boosted everybody else in that centre midfield area, and they're all stepping up because they know that they've got big boots to fill if they want to try and replace him, you know. And like at the moment, I think Arsenal's best central pairing in the midfield is Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. I absolutely thought Thomas Partey was a donkey last season and every previous season. I thought Partey was a donkey. But you put him in the middle with Declan Rice, he's a completely different player and plays to the strengths of himself and Declan Rice.
They're good partners.
They are.
But the thing is that you just said with the City comparison, and this is where Chelsea used to have it, but we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the thing is, with R1, it was more Lampard than anyone else because he was the guy that used to bang 20 goals a season for us. He did it for 10 seasons straight. That's more than Didier Drogba. So one thing about it is like with Haaland, he's that guy that when City need goals, he'll bang in a hat trick. When like you guys, like you said about the Canio, when back in the day when you guys needed a goal, he'd step up. Haaland, similar for City. Now the thing is, we need that kind of player like you said about each. The Arsenal need a striker, whatever else. But one thing I will say about Haaland, he's unique in the sense of this guy could have a terrible game but still get a hat trick. Because as many chances as he has had, he's missed. Because if this guy actually put away all of his chances and really try, that guy could be like a 60, 70 goal a season striker. Because if you look at the chances he's missed, and some of them are like from 2 do I miss Kovacic? The answer to that question is yes. Because, and I said this to Budgie yesterday, the only 3 midfielders we've had the whole season are Gallagher, Enzo, and Cancedo. And for Chelsea, that's not enough. What Arsenal do better and City do better, that's not necessarily true in everything, because Arsenal are better defensively than City. That's the only thing I will say.
I mean, Chelsea have been forced into that position, though, mate.
Like by the British government. Yeah, it's the British government. What can you do?
Well, no. I'm talking about your injury record, you know.
Oh, right.
I mean, Chelsea's injury record is horrendous. And,
you
know, it kind of... Look, I mean, some of the players that Chelsea have bought, I never heard of before Chelsea had bought them. Didn't know who they were, didn't know where they came from, you know.
What's wrong, Jeff?
Haaland just missed another chance. Or
see, what did I just say? What did I just say?
Keeper saves it, to be fair.
If that guy puts all of his chances, everyone's in trouble because this guy's going to smash goals left, right.
And Mark did correct me earlier about Haaland scoring 4 goals. He scored both penalties, a header, and then their 4th goal. So yeah, he's got all the goals today. And Wazim's asking you, do you miss Potter, Simon?
Hell no, I missed Tuchel because that's the first thing our board did that was a massive mistake. You've got a Champions League winning world-class coach, and then you go from Tuchel to Graham Potter to Frank Lampard. Alarm bells are ringing, Willie. That's what I'm gonna say. Alarm bells are ringing. You've downgraded to, and this is the thing, yeah. This is how you know my board doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They hired Lampard post Everton. What in the blue hell did you see in Frank Lampard at Everton? You thought, yeah, this guy's gonna rejuvenate my club.
Yeah,
I
but
think they
in
just
fairness, I think they
saw
were looking at his
Chelsea
record at
legends,
Chelsea.
didn't they? They just saw
Yeah.
someone who's
They
associated
looked
Yeah,
at his
yeah.
record at Chelsea.
come
as
in,
a
hold the
player.
reins, temporary appointment.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was a disaster, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
But that doesn't always work as a disaster. Though. I mean, look at when
No, it
Billy
was,
Bonds-
Budgie. It was an
Look-
as a disaster. It worked
it, wa-
perfect.
it was for Chelsea at that point, but I'm going to say, look at when West Ham took Billy Bonds on as a interim manager. He went something like 11 games unbeaten, or 21 games, I think it was unbeaten. When he first.
Oh no,
came
but in that case, get Gus Hoodie.
you know,
He was familiar to the club,
Gus Hiddink, yeah, but
and he's filled in
that's
twice
also a
before.
manager. That's also a manager I would love to have at West Ham, but
Because Gus Hiddink, he's done that job for us twice. Why not just ask Gus to do it for another quarter of the season? And the thing is, notoriously, we always play better after him anyway. Because we got FA Cup for him last time. We got the notorious "it's a effing disgrace" from Drogba when Gus Hiddink was there. You know what I mean? Bring back Gus back. Like, of all people, why Lampard? He should have never. Okay, I know Arsenal fans took a risk in Arteta, and like Xavi at Barcelona, but Chelsea was always known as a winning team for the last 20 years, and that was what
then
the
Gus Hiddink probably wouldn't have gone back to Chelsea. You know, now I've been there twice. That's that'll do me.
But no, but you know what I'm saying though. But there's other people available because of that.
Ancelotti, why not Ancelotti?
Well, he was at Everton when
Yeah,
we were doing all this crap with Lampard.
Yeah,
So you kind of sit there and you're like, and he was an ex-manager as well. That's another guy I wouldn't mind seeing come
and
back
a
through the door.
successful manager with Chelsea.
He was a brilliant. No, the sad thing about Carlo Ancelotti in his second season, the reason why it all fell apart with him is because he fell out with the board when his dad died. In his second season at Chelsea, he went on compassionate leave for I think 6 or 7 weeks. And when by the time he came back, Ray Wilkins, a Chelsea legend, by the way, who we didn't mention yesterday on my channel, by the way, but Ray Wilco, he was Carlo Ancelotti's assistant. He helped translate, obviously, because he was still learning English through his first season. He helped translate all the ideas because obviously he played in Italy, and he was really close with it. So when he went off to deal with his father dying, he came back to find everything had changed. All the backroom staff that he had was gone. His closest confidant, if you like, ambassador, if you like, between him and the club was gone without his knowledge. And it was just kind of like they sabotaged him, man. I feel so sorry for Carlo Ancelotti in his seconds. They genuinely sabotaged him. It was horrible.
He is genuinely one of the best managers.
He's the best manager on the planet, Budgie. Forget what people say about Pep Guardiola. If you want to see the balance between the two of them, who's the best manager, just look at Carlo Ancelotti's dominance of the European Cup. And that includes Pep in that as well, by the way. Because Carlo's beat him more times than Pep's beat him, trust me. He's 5 leagues as well. He's won in Germany, France, England, Spain, Italy. It says it all. Like the guy's just he's one of a kind, dude. He's just one of a. I know Pep. People say Pep because he's always in a big league or whatever, or a bigger team like the Man Cities and all that kind of thing. But one thing I like about it, he's done his dirt as well. Like, how did that guy end up going Everton? I don't know. Napoli as well. He's had his rise, he's had his fall, but he's risen again, and he's just stayed there.
He's a guy that also likes a challenge as well as winning.
Mm-hmm. Players manager as well. His players love him. His players absolutely adore Ancelotti.
And so do the fans of the clubs that he manages. They all love him too. You know.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Well,
Come on,
guys,
Jeff, what you got for us,
nearly
mate?
an hour. We better bring this back to tomorrow's game, haven't we? And
no, it's been a good chat. Now I appreciate it. Thank you both for having me today, man.
Perhaps putting in some predictions of what we think might actually happen. So, what are your feelings on that, Budgie? I'll let you go first.
Thanks, mate. I was trying to avoid this bit at all costs. Okay, so if I looked at it at the beginning of the season, I would have definitely have given us, more chance of winning. looking at it as the way the season's gone on, where our performance levels have dropped and Chelsea's have risen, it would look like it would be a Chelsea win. But earlier on, I said I would expect it to be around sort of 2-2 until the dying minutes of the game, and then one of the two teams will nick a winner. So I'm going to go with my heart, not my head, and I'm going to say West Ham 3-2, but a last dying minute goal for winning it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just saying that because you reckon someone will make a mistake. Yeah, I know what you mean.
What's your feeling, Simon?
Well, like you guys, it just depends on what version of my team turns up tomorrow. Right, well, yeah, okay. As a fan, I have to say we need to win. Like you guys need to win. A draw's not good enough, especially because obviously it's a London derby as well. We need to make sure we beat you guys so we can maintain our European hopes. I would say hopefully if we can carry on. It all depends if we get Alfie at right back, to be honest, because I'm not being funny. If Gusto plays tomorrow, I think you guys are live, to be honest. Because I think what we'll do, we'll press you high up the pitch, and hopefully when you try and play out, we can catch you in transition and counter you. I know for a fact Moisey's going to make you guys sit deep and try and counter us. So it's going to be very important that if Madueke starts on the right, Mudryk starts on the left, maybe Palmer in the middle with Connor and Caicedo behind them. Yeah. I like that team we played against Spurs, and I wouldn't the same team to play again. I hope Chelsea have a bad game and we can give them something to worry about. Antonio and Kudos and Boleyn 3-1. Palmer penalty. Wow, all right. But yeah, long story short, hopefully we'll scrape it 2-1. 2-1. That's my prediction.
Okay. Well, myself, I'm a little bit fearful. I think your home form's been very good, and I'm a little bit fearful of the Chelsea you've become at Stamford Bridge over the last few weeks. I don't like to say it, but I'm worried that we might get beat 3-1. I definitely think there's goals in the game. But I don't like predicting my team to lose, so I'm going to sit on the fence and say it's going to be 2-2.
A Desmond.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals in the game.
A Desmond 2-2.
I think we're both capable of leaking goals, making mistakes.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I said. It's hard, isn't it? If you don't know what version of the team you're going to get, that's the problem. Predictions.
Yeah.
I'd rather work out the Da Vinci Code.
To be fair, I think any one of our three predictions are easily feasible. You know.
So we'll see what happens.
Said, if the right Chelsea turn up,
if the right West Ham turn up,
yeah, either could be in a lot of trouble,
or both are in trouble,
or none at all.
That's his
Might
game.
be a 4-0.
He's been in the mud most of the season. Well, we've not really been in the mud most of the season, to be honest, because we've still been in a cup final and a cup semi-final. It's just our league forms that's been a kind of bit trashy. And I'm not being funny. I've seen teams be great in cups and trashy in the league before. Even Arsenal have done that in the 90s.
Like us last season.
Oh, there you go.
Fighting relegation, but we won a European trophy.
Cup. And the thing is, when you guys won that, it's like always forgiven.
Yeah, but also you got to remember, we won that unbeaten.
That's true. There you go. And the thing is, even though we were only a couple of places above them, even though they were in 14th, unless you were Man City, you literally had a better season than most. You had a better season last season than Arsenal did in second because of that European trophy. That's
it's just
a fact.
I got the game on in the background.
Yeah. Did you hear the story? Changing the subject slightly. Did you hear the story that Jens Lehmann has patented the name The Invincibles?
Patented it, as in put copyright on it. How the hell did he manage? How did he manage that?
I have no idea. But when you're talking about football, Arsenal, or that season, and you refer to The Invincibles, that phrase is now owned by Jens Lehmann.
Mm.
There you go. I heard it on Talkshite.
I need to have a look at that. That's bizarre because you would have thought that would have been something the team or the club would have
Well,
had rights
yeah,
over.
I mean, he owns the rights to it, but he's basically said it's open to everybody that was part of the Arsenal group at the time, including the guy that cuts the grass and, the whole of the club are within that ownership.
Oh yeah. DJ Cranes just said he's more than one of them.
He's the one that made the move to actually buy the rights to that phrase or that name. But he bought it on behalf of that entire club of that period.
I hear you, but just to answer Barry's last comment, I hear you what you were saying about the Champions League thing, but that applies to Abramovich's Chelsea. Remember, the one reason why we spent $1 billion last year or this year, whatever you want to call it, is because literally we have to rebuild the club from the ground up. Because one thing I will say is, and we're still in trouble for it now, whatever Abramovich did for us in that a period when we were like in and out of the Champions League, blah, 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 there's dodginess to the hilt for it because we're still paying for it now. Jeepers Creepers, we even had to handle ourselves in, we had, what was it, 2 accounts? We got caught for financial fair play at the beginning and we actually had to hand ourselves in for it because our new owners had gone through the books and realized this, and this was off. So it's complicated. It's going to be a couple of seasons before everything at Chelsea settles down to boot. It really is because it's an utter mess behind the scenes.
But the nice thing is that your current owners can actually afford to pay any penalties that are, financial penalties that are put your way. They can actually afford to do it, and it doesn't affect the running of the club as such. True,
but they also make massive footballing decision mistakes. Like you mentioned, Tuchel to Potter to Lampard. So, they pros and cons. Oh, by the way, as businessmen, our new owners, because they took FFP and just went like that, and with the 8-year contract thing, it was kind of like a spit in the face to FFP, and that's why they abolished it because you're not allowed to hand out 8-year contracts now, apparently, or 6. I think I can't remember, but I know you're not.
Too late for the players that are on them, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they found the loophole in the system and then they eliminated the loophole. But obviously, you can't nullify all these contracts because then you've got to cough out billions of pounds in loyalty bonuses and whatever. So yeah. Oh, you've done it this time, but you can't do it again.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because we didn't have a law stipulating it, we can't punish her. But now we're going to enforce a new law that states if you do it again, you're FUBAR.
It's only because they caught him out. It's because they caught him out.
Yeah. But then, Chelsea were very clever in that respect. As you said, the ownership was very clever. We've got a fella that sells fucking dildos for a living as our owner. And well, it's true, though. It is true. And the geezer can't make a good business decision to save his life.
Yeah. He ain't no Harry Longsdale, is he, from Lock, Stock?
No, he's not. He's like Harry Potter.
I get you.
Nowhere near as magical.
Oh, I see. I get you, Wolfie, but your fans still chat like the champions, and we done it many a times. If you sold Gallagher and James, you wouldn't be anywhere near the old Chelsea. Well, I'm not even being funny. I could even argue that James and Gallagher aren't anywhere near the old Chelsea. Well, James never plays. How about that? And people sit there and say that Gallagher's not good enough anyway. Isn't it? Well, the thing is, this is what I don't get, Barry, and this is the thing, right? We used to pride, like you guys were saying about Defoe and them earlier, we used to pride ourselves on our youth products too. Because if you look at our last Champions League win, it had Reece James, Chalobah, Tomori, Mount. It was about 7 or 8 homegrown players in that team. Tammy Abraham from Chelsea. That, they really got the club, and all of them have been sold off. Look at Trevor Chalobah this year. He's been the one good defender we've had next to Thiago Silva, and he had this since he's come back from his injury, he's been pretty good. But don't worry, we're going to get rid of him in the summer for 40-50 million. It's just like, why are you talking about selling the guys that trust me, the media, the PR spin on Chelsea is so it's typically like Arsenal and Spurs and Liverpool in that regard. If they love the PR spin, but realistically, if you're actually watching the game, you wouldn't get rid of Trevor Chalobah, would you? You wouldn't get rid of Conor Gallagher because they're one of the few players actually doing what they're supposed to. But James, I'm not too sure about him, mate, because he's never fit and he's not been fit for 2 years. No, and I was just
I
saying
think
to
you
one.
need to sell the likes of Chalabar and Gallagher purely for the PSR, FFP.
Well, that's already been
reasons.
done in terms of Broya, Lewis Hall to Newcastle. We've already got rid of a handful of youngsters. That's why I
Yeah.
said about the January transfer window.
You've
About we got rid of.
You've also
You
got
got to do it again,
consider-
haven't you? You sold your hotels, didn't you, for 75 million to
Well,
alleviate some of that problem.
Well, in terms of, I think some of the players, I think
But
you're right. We did get rid of the
Yes, that's
hotels.
a different show, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, the whole FFP thing. But the thing is, don't forget
but
one thing about
you've also got to have a quota of homegrown players. I mean, how
4.
many- is that all the quota is?
Yep, you have to have 4 from Chelsea, 8 from England, and we've got 4 in terms of Reece James, Gilchrist, Trevor Chalabar. Oh, who's the other one?
Yeah, no, so you've got to have 8 in your squad from England or from,
Yeah,
from
or
the
trained
British
in
Isles.
England, right? From trained in England,
Or
and
from-
4 for
or
the team.
trained in England.
Mm-hmm.
They
They
don't
have
have
to
to be British born then. No.
No, they have to be
Oh.
like what have to as a young player from the age of 16. They have to have from the professional contract as it's known. And this is what we got in trouble for a few years ago with all the lads and stuff under 16 when we got that transfer ban. I think in 2019. It's one of those ones where if you're between the ages of 16 and 21, if you play or train with a club for 3 years in England under the age of 21, then you become allocated a homegrown product of that club. Great example is Andres Christensen. He came to us at 18 when we got him from, I can't remember where it was, I think Serbia. But it was one of those ones where we had him just for those 3 and he became homegrown to us because we had him for 3 years and he'd been at Chelsea, so trained for Chelsea for 3 years before he hit 21. It's how it works. It's weird. And yeah, I have delved into it a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah.
And the Champions League
Well,
one, I
guys.
think, is like 10 from England, I think.
It's been a really good chat, but I think I'm going to start getting summoned soon because we haven't had dinner yet. So I'm going to have to start thinking about wrapping this up. And
No problem.
perhaps we could all get together and have another chat about things. Perhaps we can do a review show depending on what the result is. One of us might be hired. We don't know.
I wouldn't hide, man. I wouldn't hide. Good or bad, I won't hide. Hey, if we win, I'll be more surprised than you guys. So
I'd just
Okay.
like to thank everyone in the chat for sticking with us and
thanks,
joining
guys.
in.
Go.
And obviously, you guys want to, I'm sure most people are familiar, but if you guys want to shout out your channels, please do so.
Go on,
Alright,
Simon, you're the guest.
Simon Rayner OnlyFans. No, I'm kidding. No, Wolfgang Division. You can catch me on YouTube. Obviously, I've got my channel. I do a lot of stuff with early doors as well. Another West Ham fan, but I do bit. Yeah, Budgie knows me. I'm up and down. You can always catch me on stream. It's always just to have a laugh. Really, I don't do the football tribalism thing. I try to be a bit more down to earth and connect with the individual fan more than I do the whole like tribal thing. So, if you want to hear reasonable half cents. I don't think you can apply sense to Chelsea at the moment. If you want to hear reasonable half cents from me, you can just find me at Wolfgang Division. Thank you for having me on, Jeff. I much appreciate
No
it.
problem. You're absolutely welcome. Perhaps we can do another little collab another time. You can join us in the lounge.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
We'll have a chat about stuff. Budgie, you want to shout out your channel, mate?
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Green Street Elites, as most of you watching would already know. You can catch me there. You can also catch me on West Ham Network on a Wednesday night with my pal Kieran doing the old school Hammers stuff. Just talking bollocks and getting away.
Mad
with it.
one in Australia.
Yeah, that's the man. You find me on the Boleyn Lounge regularly because my friend Jeff here is a good pal of mine, so we do a bit together. And as I said on, Tuesday last week, this Tuesday's talk show, the interactive talk show, I will be live in that room in the background now. I will be live with that young man up in the top left corner.
I'm looking forward to that, Budgie.
Me too.
Looking forward to it. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'd just like to say thanks to everyone, and we'll see you all soon, and enjoy the game tomorrow. whatever your allegiance.
Well, thank you everyone for having me